Have you ever sat quietly in your favorite chair, maybe with a cup of tea or coffee, and suddenly felt this wave of heaviness? Not physical, but emotional. A sense that something's missing, even when the house is quiet and the day is peaceful. That feeling, more often than not, doesn't come from what's going on around us, but from what's happening inside us. And the truth is, as we get older, we can sometimes slip into thought patterns that quietly chip away at our happiness without us even realizing it. It's not your fault. Life throws a lot at us as we age. There's the natural slowing down of our bodies, the loss of friends or loved ones, maybe a shift in identity after retirement, or just the feeling that the world is moving on without us. These are big changes, and with them come certain mindsets, ways of thinking that can slowly, silently drain the joy out of our days. But here's the good news. We don't have to stay stuck there. Today, I want to talk with you, really talk, about some of these mindsets. 7 of them, to be exact. And I want to invite you to take a gentle look at your own thoughts, not to judge yourself, but to see if maybe, just maybe, 1 or 2 of these are holding you back from feeling as happy and as alive as you could be. Let's begin with one that sneaks up on so many of us, dwelling on the past. It might sound something like this: if only I had made a different decision back then. Or, things were better in those days, weren't they? Now, there's nothing wrong with reminiscing. I believe our memories are treasures. But when we start living in the past, when we replay old mistakes, regrets, or even just long for what once was, it keeps us from seeing the beauty in what is. Think about it. How many joyful moments today have passed us by because we were stuck replaying a memory from 20 years ago? It's easy to feel like the best days are behind us, especially if we've experienced loss or major changes. But I promise you, there is still joy to be had right now, in this moment. And sometimes, the act of simply noticing that joy, a warm sunbeam through the window, the taste of a favorite dish, a kind smile from a stranger, can pull us gently back into the present. Now, closely tied to that is the second mindset, fearing change. Change used to be exciting, didn't it? New job, new city, new grandchild. But as we get older, change can start to feel more like a threat than an adventure. We get comfortable in our routines. We feel safe in what we know. So when something shifts, a health diagnosis, new technology, a move to a different home, it can shake us. But here's something I've learned. Resisting change doesn't stop it. It just makes it harder. I knew a man in his 70s. Let's call him Joe. Joe refused to learn how to use a smartphone. Said it was too complicated. His kids and grandkids tried to help, but he wouldn't budge. "I'm too old for that nonsense," he'd say. But then one day, his grandson sent him a video message. Joe couldn't open it. That broke his heart. So he sat down, learned the basics, just the basics. And now, he video chats every weekend. He sends silly photos. He's connected again. Change didn't steal his peace. It gave him back a part of his life. Fear wants us to believe that we can't handle new things. But that's just not true. You've handled so much in your life already. You are stronger than you think. And every time we take a small step toward embracing change, we prove that fear wrong. And while we're talking about these mindsets, let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself looking at someone else, maybe a neighbor or someone on TV, and thinking, why does their life seem better than mine? That brings us to the next mindset, comparing ourselves to others. It's so tempting, especially now, with social media and all the highlight reels we see. People posting their vacations, their family gatherings, their seemingly perfect lives. But here's the secret no one tells you. We only see the good parts. No one posts about the lonely days, the arguments, the health scares, or the doubts. You're comparing your full, real life to someone else's carefully edited moments. And that's never a fair comparison. You're on your own path. You've had your own battles, your own triumphs. No one else has walked in your shoes. So why should you measure your happiness by someone else's ruler? I want you to really think about that. Because when we let comparison sneak in, it tells us lies. It tells us we're not enough, that we've missed out, that it's too late. And none of that is true. What's true is this. Happiness isn't found by looking at someone else's life. It's found by appreciating your own. You see, these mindsets, dwelling on the past, fearing change, comparing ourselves to others. They don't show up like storms. They creep in quietly like fog. But the moment we become aware of them, we can begin to clear the air. And that's exactly what we're doing right now, together. There's something powerful that happens when we pause and really look at the thoughts we carry. And the more we become aware, the more we can gently let go of the ones that no longer serve us. One of those heavy ones is this next mindset, holding on to grudges. Now, I know this one's tough, because when someone hurts us, especially someone close, it cuts deep. And when that wound isn't acknowledged or apologized for, it can harden into something heavier, resentment. Over time, that resentment becomes like a stone in your pocket. You carry it everywhere. You might even forget it's there, but it still weighs you down. Sometimes we hold on to old grudges because we think it protects us, or because we feel like letting go means saying what happened didn't matter. But forgiveness isn't about saying it was okay. It's about saying I won't let this hurt rule my life anymore. I once met a woman, let's call her Carol, who hadn't spoken to her sister in nearly 20 years. The argument? Something about their parents' estate. Small at first, but it grew over time. Carol would always say, "She knows where to find me. I'm not reaching out first." But when Carol's sister fell ill, it shook her. Suddenly, all that silence didn't feel like strength. It felt like regret. She wrote a letter, just a simple one, not to fix everything, but to say, "I'm thinking of you." And you know what? Her sister wrote back. Their relationship will never be perfect, but they found peace. Not just with each other, but within themselves. We may think we're punishing someone by holding on to anger, but in reality, we're just reliving the pain. And life, especially at this stage, deserves peace more than pride. Now, right alongside forgiveness is another mindset that's surprisingly common, being overly critical of ourselves. If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, "Ugh, I look awful," or caught yourself saying, "I'm such a fool," you're not alone. We've all been our own worst critic. But have you ever stopped to think, would I speak to someone else the way I speak to myself? Probably not. So why do we think it's okay to speak to ourselves that way? Sometimes we carry around old labels from long ago. Maybe someone once told you that you weren't smart, or capable, or worthy. And somehow, that voice stayed in your head. But that voice? That's not you. That's a lie someone else planted. And it's time to stop watering it. You're not too old to be kind to yourself. In fact, now is the perfect time to start. Because every time you give yourself grace, when you say, "I'm doing my best," or "it's okay to not be perfect," you're creating space for healing. Let me tell you about Harold. He was an artist in his younger days, but gave it up when life got busy. After retiring, he tried to pick up painting again, but he kept criticizing every brushstroke. "It's not like I used to do," he'd say. "I've lost my touch." But then one day, his granddaughter saw one of his sketches and said, "Grandpa, this is beautiful." And that moment changed everything. He realized he didn't need to be the best. He just needed to enjoy it. Now he paints every week. Not for praise, not for perfection, but for peace. That leads us naturally into another happiness-draining trap, expecting perfection. Perfection is a sneaky one. It tells us we can't be happy until everything is just right. Our health, our home, our family, our future. But here's the secret. Life is never perfect. Not at 20, not at 60, not at 90. And if we wait for things to be perfect before we allow ourselves to be happy, we'll be waiting forever. Perfectionism also hides in small places, like cleaning the house until it's spotless before company comes over. Or not going to the pool because you don't like how you look in a swimsuit. Or not trying something new because you're afraid you won't be good at it. But what if you showed up anyway? What if you let yourself enjoy the moment, even if it's messy? I remember watching a group of seniors at a local dance class. Some had stiff knees. Some forgot the steps. Some couldn't move much at all. But you know what? They were laughing. They were alive. No one there was perfect, but they were present. And that's what made it beautiful. Joy doesn't live in perfection. It lives in moments of acceptance, of presence, of letting go of the need to get everything just right and instead asking, what feels good right now? So far, we've covered some heavy ground. But here's the amazing thing. The moment you recognize a thought pattern, you gain the power to choose differently. You don't have to carry that old grudge. You don't have to speak harshly to yourself. You don't have to chase perfection. You can, instead, choose peace, kindness, and freedom starting today. There's one more mindset that I think quietly creeps into the lives of so many of us as we grow older. And it can be one of the most limiting of all. It's that little voice inside that says, I'm too old to try anything new. Maybe you've heard that whisper. Maybe you've said it out loud. I'm too old to travel now. I can't learn that. It's for the younger generation. I wish I'd started that years ago. But here's what I want you to know from the bottom of my heart. Age doesn't disqualify you from trying, learning, loving, laughing, or living. In fact, it qualifies you in a whole new way. You have wisdom now. You have resilience. You've made it through storms that younger folks haven't even seen. And if you're still breathing, you still have time. Not to do everything, but to do something. Something meaningful. Something joyful. Something new. I once met a man in his late 70s who had always wanted to play the piano. He never learned as a kid. His family couldn't afford lessons. But every time he heard a piano, his heart would swell. He used to say, "It's too late now. My fingers are stiff. My memory isn't what it used to be." But one day, his granddaughter gave him a gift, a simple keyboard with a note that said, "I believe in you." That night, he started. Just 10 minutes. Then 15. He practiced a little each day. 6 months later, he played Amazing Grace at the family holiday dinner. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. He didn't become a concert pianist. But that wasn't the point. He became someone who had finally answered the call of his own heart. And that changed everything. What's something you've always wanted to try, but thought it was too late? Painting? Gardening? Learning to dance? Writing your story? What would happen if you just started? Even if it's messy, even if it's slow, even if it feels scary, you are allowed to begin. And your happiness? It's often hiding right behind that first small step. So now, let's gently bring all this together. Over these past few minutes, we've taken a hard but compassionate look at some of the mindsets that might be quietly draining your joy each day. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because life has a way of shaping our thoughts in ways we don't always see. Maybe you've been carrying regrets from the past, or resisting change that feels too overwhelming. Maybe you've caught yourself comparing your life to others, or holding on to old anger that weighs down your heart. Maybe that inner critic has been speaking a little too loudly lately. Maybe you've been chasing a version of perfect that doesn't really exist. Or maybe, just maybe, you believe the lie that your best days are behind you. But here's the truth. Right here, right now, you are not your thoughts, and you're not stuck. You are still growing, still capable of joy, still worthy of laughter and learning and connection. I know life isn't always easy, especially as we age. But every day we wake up is a chance to choose again. A chance to let go of what no longer serves us and reach for something lighter, something brighter. And you don't have to do it all at once. You don't need to fix every thought or silence every doubt. You just need to notice, to pause, and maybe to tell yourself a new story. Instead of, "I'm too old," try "It's never too late." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," try "I am learning." Instead of, "It has to be perfect," try "This moment is enough." Instead of, "They hurt me," try "I choose peace for me." You have more power than you realize. Not to control everything, but to shape how you move through it. So here's what I want to leave you with today. You are not behind. You're not too much. You're not too little. You're right on time. Right now, wherever you are in your life's journey, you have the right to feel joy. You have the right to feel free. And most of all, you have the right to be kind to yourself. If something in this video spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, has one of these mindsets ever held you back? Have you found a way to move forward? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this video helped you see things a little differently, please give it a thumbs up. It really does make a difference. And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations like this one. We're building something special here, a space for growth, for support, and for rediscovering joy at every stage of life. Until next time, remember this: you're not alone. You're still becoming, and you are more than enough. Here's to living your best life, no matter your age.